Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fully Charged podcast. This is quite exciting because we've got a lot going on, and we thought it was worth catching up on all the things that are happening with Fully Charged, and I wanted to chat with Dan Caesar. Partly, I'll be completely honest, partly so I can find out what's happening at Harrogate, because I found out most about what was happening at Farnborough, our previous live show, when we talked before, Dan. So you're the man that I need to hear all this stuff from, because it's kind of assumed that we all know, and then it does require one to have read all the attachments to all the emails, which I may or may not have done.
Well, people listened to us last time.
They did.
Yes. So
yes.
It's completely irrelevant. So people are interested to what we've got to say. But I think what would terrify the life out of most people is how late some companies confirm.
Oh, right.
It's not really us holding back information sometimes with the event so much.
That is true. Yes.
I think we're gonna bring something interesting. Literally, I've had 2 or 3 confirmations today, and at the time of recording, we're only about 10 days out from the show. So
right,
seems barely plausible, but that's the way it rolls. When you're in the energy and transport transition. So no, we really got some great lineup. But did you not go to an event last week as well?
So I was at an event last week, which is. Yeah, it's just endless events, but this one was really interesting to see it in sort of contrast to Fully Charged Live, because I went to the Nordic EV Summit in Oslo, and it was amazing. And I've been to them before, and I went with Jack. Jack Scarlett was there, and he is a consummate professional. He was introducing all the panels. I had to do the keynote speech.
Were you consummate?
I think I was. I didn't upset anyone. One small expletive may have passed my lips accidentally, but it made people laugh and clap. So it wasn't, hugely a hostile response. But it was fascinating. And Dan, Jack is so good. He's such a natural, and he's just, he did. So he worked a lot harder than I did. But I got interviewed by lots of people and did lots of chatting with people. But it was effectively a business to business event. Wasn't really a wide open public event. There's a lot of people there, but they were all within the automotive and electric, the renewable electricity transitioning thing. Although in Norway, to be honest, they're kind of they're so far ahead of us.
So by our reckoning, we're about 16-17% of EV sales in the UK, new EV sales. New car sales or electric vehicles.
Right,
they're
which is huge.
Over 80% now, but that's where they were where we are now 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So what's it like in 2028, 2029?
So it is. You notice when you're walking around, and we walked around Oslo a lot. My wife Judy came out, and we spent a couple of days there. We made a weekend break in Oslo, and caught up with Ketan Joshi, who's been on the podcast in the past, who lives there now, and him and his wife and children. That was fabulous. But what we really, really noticed walking was you hear combustion engines, which is quite rare, but you really notice them. So I would say now, not all of their buses, their public transport system is amazing. It's really impressive. And all the new buses are electric, all of them. So I don't know what percentage, but like well over 80% of the buses we saw were electric. But every now and then you'll hear a diesel one, and my goodness, you do notice. So you go, oh my God, there's a diesel one. And off it goes. And then just after that, that's one of the electric ones. And you go, why? And then I saw a diesel transit van that was a window cleaning company, I think. But all the others are electric. And then I saw a Ferrari with a petrol engine. You actually remember, that's how rare they are. You remember them, you notice them. And a couple of motorbikes I heard, which was so loud, it's such a shock. But I walked through the town through Oslo late at night with Jack one night, and we just both commented. We just stood on the corner of a really busy, it wasn't quiet, it was full of people walking around, chatting, sitting outside. The first few days it had been above bitterly sub-zero temperatures in Oslo this year. They had snow the week before we were there in the city. So it was a little warmish break. So a lot of people were out and about, just silent. And there was traffic, and there was trams. The trams' wheels made a noise, but
And presumably the grid has gone down, though. Presumably there's no power there anymore.
Strangely enough, they're exporting power. They've got so much. But I mean, they're all renewable. So we could see a flock of friendly wind turbines on a distant hill from there. But I mean, I think they're about 90% hydroelectric powered anyway. They were before they did the transition to electric vehicles. But the thing that I really became aware of in a sort of in the subtext of everything I was seeing, and all Norwegians will talk about it, is their oil and gas industry. So they're all aware that the reason they can do this and the reason there's all these amazing new buildings in Oslo, and there's been a huge amount of building development, I'd say, in the last 20 years. So all the old docklands they're all super luxury, hipster, groovy pads and restaurants and, all that sort of stuff, is because of oil and gas money. And they're all kind of there is this kind of this. I think I would call it the subtle Norwegian grimace. You go, oh, that's wonderful. You've got the latest Tesla, and they go, yeah. The reason they've got it is because they've got a sovereign wealth fund that makes the Saudi royal family look poor.
Someone has to be in the lead, and it was always going to be. Was it not wealthier nations that took the lead, and this filters down? I noticed that the chief exec and founder of Li Auto in China has said he believes that new energy vehicles, as they call them in China, will be 80% of new car sales in China by the end of 2025.
That is incredible.
Like Sweden, on its current trajectory, could be close to that, and maybe advanced nations like the Netherlands and
maybe Denmark,
even England might be maybe 40-50% pure electric sales by the end of 2025.
Yeah,
just extraordinary, and it will.
But I mean, China is the biggest market in the world, isn't it? So if they get to 80%, that's that tinkling bell you can hear in the distance now. Combustion engine automakers will be deafening.
Yeah, and they're practicing. They're practicing everything from making the vehicle, perfecting the technologies, to how best to market the vehicles and export the vehicles, and so they're in. They're going to have a huge advantage. Well, this week I'm going to the Future of the Car, which is another event, but this one's run by the Financial Times.
So that's in London, this event, isn't it? Yeah,
in London. So I'm very interested to know about the future of the car.
Yes. We've got no idea.
So I'm wondering if I find out anything we don't know. But having looked at the schedule, I can see quite a lot of talk about hydrogen and e-fuels.
E-fuels.
I'm wondering if this is the future of a car as it is in a parallel dimension, where lithium ion didn't become a lot cheaper and more energy dense, because to me it seems curious that something called the future of the car is talking about things which in my opinion are not going to get off the ground at all.
Yeah, I mean, it is peculiar, isn't it? I mean, is there anyone we know that is, for instance, presenting this extraordinary conference in London, the Financial Times Future of the Car? Who would be suitable to present and introduce
One
people?
of our colleagues is on stage there, I believe. But I don't want to take her name in vain. I think I probably narrowed it down. But someone with piercing intellect from the Scholars team will be present. I'm going to pop in, and I'm just fascinated to see. But it does seem to be the existing legacy industry talking about what they would like the future of the car to be. Opposed to what the consumer people. You pulled me up on this before, or I'm going to call them prosumers today. Reduce energy.
Ladies and gentlemen, listen to that. Mr. Caesar's called you a prosumer.
Take it up another level. Well, we saw so many prosumers at
it's true. We exist. Yeah,
people who are desperate to once they've got an electric car, to switch the tariff, get the charger, and then to generate and store power on their own. So we could see the front edge of this. So it's very, very interesting to see. People still talking about hydrogen. I mean, I'm absolutely amazed that hydrogen
gets any airtime
for vehicles. I'm talking about particularly.
No, it's clearly got roles. But just very briefly, because that was only yesterday I saw that news, the 2 more hydrogen refueling stations have closed in the UK due to lack of use. Quelle surprise. I think there's now about 4 that function when they function. It basically hasn't worked. And yet there's still people who pin all their hopes and their companies on it working. And it's heartbreaking because I want it to work. It's like, because that's the thing. We often get accused of, being hydrogen haters. I mean, it would be brilliant if it worked. Imagine if all the cars I saw in Norway that weren't battery electric were hydrogen. I wouldn't be complaining. I go, it's fantastic. Brilliant, mate. Well done.
No, it's a matter of timing, isn't it? And they're making the same, the vested interests and people who are supporting the old way of doing things are making the same issue with e-fuels, or the same mistake with e-fuels, which again, I was talking to someone who's going to be at our Harrogate show next week, a gentleman called Tom Heap.
Right. Lovely Tom.
File, and he's writing a new book. I don't know if I'm supposed to be spilling these beans, but and part of that is about land usage and what it's going to take to create these biofuels or e-fuels, and actually covering some of that acreage with solar would be far more efficient.
Right, efficient use of the land. Right, wow.
And you can see that, can't you?
So I actually don't know. I mean, I totally understand biofuels. I might not be able to describe the exact chemical processes necessary to produce them, but I get it. Whereas I don't get what e-fuels are, because I've read stuff where, we capture carbon out of the atmosphere and turn it into e-fuel. And you go, well, no one has captured carbon out of the atmosphere at anything remotely resembling anything you could describe as being economically viable. One, it's incredibly expensive, and it's incredibly energy intensive. It uses vast amounts of electricity to do it. And no one's capturing carbon at source when they burn coal, even though they've been talking about that for at least 20 years. So where's this carbon coming from?
Yeah, forming an e-fuels episode at the moment.
Yeah.
I think we're working on a green screen episode on that. So rather than you and I talk about something,
that's it.
Know enough about
pontificating wildly.
Other than we think it's not going to go anywhere, we'll wait till that.
That's true.
To come in. But in terms of Harrogate and the things that are going on there, I mentioned Tom Heap. So he's going to be your electric fireside chat on the Saturday at
very good
North, and in Farnborough we had Deborah Meaden. She was fantastic.
Wasn't she amazing? Yeah.
We had Dave Borlace from Just Have a Think, who was fantastic.
He was my hero before I met him, but he's a hero. My hero worshipping only increased.
He's great.
For me, wasn't he brilliant? He did such a good little talk. That was fantastic. Yeah,
it was really good. And then we had the 2 boys from
Bosch, who are just lovely.
Who were fantastic too. So the electric fireside chats, I think, are now a staple opening session.
Because I was a bit concerned before we did them that, because it was first thing in the morning, we had Deborah Meaden there. It was like, oh my God, will anyone come in? They came in. It was very full and very busy.
That was good. So at the Harrogate show at Yorkshire Event Centre from Friday the 19th through to
very good.
Sunday the 21st. I think that's right. I'm not sure. I'm so addled after doing 3 events already this year. But we've got Jordan Brompton, who is going to be doing the first fireside chat with you, who's probably quite well known to our audience, but what an impact My Energy has made as a company. She's the co-founder there. I think she's recently won Entrepreneur of the Year award. I know she was at Downing Street recently because there's a great photo of her sort of towering over Rishi Sunak. I'm not going to say anything political at this point, but what a story they've had. Phenomenal facility in just outside of Grimsby. I was there a few weeks ago. A real sort of success story. So she's going to talk to you about that kind of story of My Energy, which would be great. And then Tom Heap on Saturday to talk to you about things like land usage, and also the fact that electric cars, most people can actually use them. We had a bit of a briefing call this morning, and he started to rant. And I was like, great, save this for Robert. It might be quite a good session of 2 gentlemen ranting about electric vehicles.
Both of us in a very polite Radio 4 style way.
Yeah, for sure. And then on the Sunday, we've got the head of sustainability from ITV, and
Yes.
a couple of the cast members of Emmerdale.
Right. Oh, great.
So Emmerdale being, actually the village being situated just up, I think a mile or two away from the Yorkshire Event Centre.
It's very close.
So they're going to come as well. So some really interesting electric fireside chat. So I'm selfishly looking forward to hearing you talk to all of those people.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to all of them. They're such fun. Well, the great thing is that I know Jordan and Tom quite well, and I've done I've spent a lot of time with both of them. And I mean, they're both amazing. Tom Heap, for people who are outside the UK, is a very well-known radio presenter and just amazing man who just understands a lot of science and the environment. He's really good on those topics. And he's in Countryfile as well, isn't he? Which is a very long-running BBC TV show about living in the country. One of the other presenters, bizarrely, he's my neighbour. He lives in the farm just up the road. Adam Henson. He can throw a sheep around like no one's business. He's got some very peculiar cows.
I think Adam might be coming as well. But yeah, we've got lots of great people coming to the show.
Yeah.
And those electric fireside chats are part of at least 40, maybe even 50 sessions over the 3 days. So you can just find out so much. You can get so much knowledge by sitting through a few of those different sessions and all sorts of different topics.
Well, the panels are amazing, aren't they? Because the people we get on those panels are extraordinary. I mean, really proper people who know their topic. It's an amazing, and it isn't always. I think I just want to reassure people that it's not always me that is sharing these conversations. It's Imogen, Helen, and Jack do, and Andy.
Andy's coming. Myself, Emily.
Sorry, Dan. Yeah, you do.
Almost. Well, occasionally, although I'm quite happy not to do them. I prefer to watch them. But no, that's been a real kind of success of the live shows over the last few years. So we love doing that. And the thing is that, as you well know, but for the benefit of our audience, obviously we really wanted to do Fully Charged Live North a long, long time ago. Yeah. When we said we were going to move Fully Charged Live from Silverstone to Farnborough, not everyone saw the whole of our vision, which was that we wanted to do a south version and a north version. And then the pandemic came along, of course. Yes. And we had to say to our audience in Scotland and the north of England and elsewhere, actually, you're going to have to hang fire a bit longer. So I'm so excited. And hopefully our audience will be as well. Yeah. Because we're finally making the effort to go to proper county where they talk straight. So it'll be interesting to see if you talk straight, how they react to that. They might go, absolutely
sling
right.
your hook, mate. Yeah, or they might like it. Yeah. Well, it's also, I've got to hold back my desire to imitate, I'm sure very poorly, the Yorkshire accent, because it's such a glorious accent. And it allows you to be quite dry and but at the same time emotional and angry. I love it. So
well, I think 10 years ago you could have done it with wild abandon, but now you will be cancelled.
I know.
So maybe just let it out once or twice.
I'm not going to even let it out at all. I'm just going to hold it all back in. After years and years of training.
I know you well enough to know you will not be able to help yourself at some point. So really, really exciting. So I guess from our perspective, if anyone's listening and they're coming to that show, it will, as an update, it'll be good to say actually what was at Farnborough. Broadly, 75% of that's going to be at Harrogate as well. Because it's a launch show, it's a little bit smaller, but we are absolutely delighted with the response we've had from exhibitors and from visitors. For a launch, it'd probably be the biggest launch show we've ever done.
Wow!
So that's fantastic. And then you can expect all the normal great things there, like the Home Energy Advice team and electric launch pad, electric alley, the talks. We've obviously talked about fully charged business and so on and so forth. So 3 great days are guaranteed. The weather has been very dubious in the UK in 2023. We kind of got away with it at Farnborough.
God, we were so lucky, weren't we? It was actually quite warm and sunny, which was such a relief.
Please pray to the weather gods. I think we're hoping something smaller. Just we take grey and dry right now, I think.
Yes. If it's grey and dry, yes. Because I'm just seeing now, if my forecast goes down, it doesn't go far enough in advance. It's warmer by Thursday, the Thursday before the show. It's warmer than it is today. But it has been particularly wet, hasn't it? It would be lovely if it wasn't. But what about test drives as well? We have got test drives in.
We have, and what's really interesting is I think we ran about 7,000 test drives out of Farnborough.
I didn't know, because I knew there was a day someone said it was over 1,000 today or something, but that was a Friday.
Well,
7,000 test drives.
One company did 300 in one day.
Wow.
So we think it's about 7,000. We
That's
know that there's
incredible,
a huge conversion rate of when people get in these cars.
Yeah.
They go on to buy them. So that was great. I know similarly there were hundreds of electric bike tests and skateboard tests as well. So it wasn't just about cars only. But that was huge. And the good thing about the Harrogate show is we've got pretty much all the same car companies participating.
Right.
One or two not, but generally the same kind of lineup. And the show program will be out by the time this podcast airs. You'll be able to see exactly who's there. But the good thing is similar number of test drives, but probably a slightly smaller show because it's the launch.
Right.
So if you missed out on testing some cars, you might have an even better chance at Harrogate of getting to try 2 or 3. And that would be great, from our perspective. So I don't know what your favourite was at Farnborough, but obviously BYD's cars got a lot of attention.
Just so, yeah. And having 2 cars launched there was 3 effectively. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Yeah. And then the one that kind of surprised me a bit, but I wasn't sure about when I saw pictures of it, but actually really liked it in real life, was the Hyundai Ioniq 6. I thought that was
beautiful. I love it. Yeah,
really, really nice. And then of course on Electric Launchpad we had lots of stuff that wasn't released yet, and we've got quite a lot of those coming to Harrogate as well, including the lovely the Lotus Electra, the Rivian R1T. Yeah, that's a long list of different vehicles. And this afternoon, I'm not on the call, but I know our friends at Munro, who bought the incredible Munro Mark 1, are bringing that to Harrogate.
They are? Oh, fantastic.
Also, they're launching something new at Harrogate that I don't even know what it is.
Wow. Munro are launching something new. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's coming as well. So that'll be.
I just want to quickly update people who won't have maybe have missed this out. So really, really, really fast Formula 1 level acceleration, really kind of as fast as cars can go. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour is sort of crazy fast, 2.83 seconds, somewhere around there. I've done it once. It's horrendous. And the Munro, what's it called? I don't even know. The little tiny Munro. The Munro Mark 1 does that in 1.4. I think it's 1.4 seconds. It's like being fired out of a gun. There's no... I don't know how the guy, he's a Formula 1 racing driver, isn't he, who drove it.
No, are you talking about, I'm talking about Munro, which is the bigger kind of Land Rover Defender type vehicle. You were talking about the McMurtry.
McMurtry.
This is basically 2 old men struggling to remember this stuff.
Because I sat next to the McMurtry for like an hour doing a podcast, and I sat in the Munro.
Thankfully,
they both begin with M. That's my only excuse.
Because that's going to be there as well.
Oh, good.
On the My Energy stand. So both those vehicles, but you literally couldn't have chosen 2 more opposite vehicles. One which couldn't
be more opposite. No.
Extraordinarily fast, and the other one which is extraordinarily brutal. If the Munro Mark 1 could go the speed the McMurtry could, I think that would be...
What would actually happen is the vehicle would stay still and the earth would spin faster. It would cause all kinds of havoc. That is a classic old man fail. McMurtry. The McMurtry is just insane. There's nothing else you can say about it. It's broken all the records that have ever been held. There's been things like Ferraris and Porsches and racing cars and Formula 1 cars going up the hill at Goodwood, and they've all been left standing by this thing. It's just ridiculous. It sucks itself to the road. Let's leave it there. Well, now be on display. It is an amazing little thing to see.
Yeah,
but the Munro...
My Energy have done a tie-up with McMurtry, I think.
A really good idea. Yeah,
done a partnership. And I think I think that the McMurtry's battery is 60 kilowatt hours. I think.
Yes, if that. It's not
something like that, but it's an incredible thing. But then I think My Energy were very popular because they had that on their stand, and they were also advertising their own battery, the Libby, which you filmed with a while back.
Libby, yeah. It's really interesting.
Which I think is modular.
Yes,
if I remember rightly.
you can build add more to it.
Kilowatt hour units, I think.
Increments, yeah.
So what's that?
But sorry, so now what?
12 Libby's going to one McMurtry. That was the lot of the labour.
That's it.
Going to make.
Yes. But what you then told me, which I totally got the wrong end of every stick that's ever existed in history, is that the Munro are revealing a new vehicle.
Yes.
And that is exciting. How I do. Because I just thought, if McMurtry are revealing a new one, it would be just ridiculous. What were they going to reveal? I don't know. One that goes even faster. I mean, just to quickly, before I go, because I just went into paroxysms of tech nerdery about that car. If you lifted it up with a crane and stuck it on a ceiling and turn it on, it would stay stuck to the ceiling. That's how hard it sucks itself, which is amazing, really. It's incredible. So you could drive it upside down across a ceiling if there was a ceiling strong enough to hold the car up, but you'd probably pull the ceiling down. Anyway, enough of the McMurtry. The Munro are going to be showing something new. That is amazing. Wow.
Yes, that's good. I mean, I think a lot of the companies that came to Farnborough were so blown away by the audience. It's not us, right? It's the audience, the interest levels that they had. That they made special plans to bring other things and new things to Harrogate as well. It's really exciting. Right. I mean, the one other thing I would say, and we were quite clear about it in our show notes, is that there was just quite a lot of charging companies at Farnborough.
Yes.
And we actually did sort of stop taking bookings from charging companies from about December last year. And I think we're going to put...
I think we should just to explain what you mean, it is companies that make chargers that you can fit to your house. It's not... Domestic chargers.
Domestic charging. I think it's been an explosion of interest in that market. So for future shows, we're going to put on a cap on the amount of companies of that type come. It's like anything, really. You get some segments that overheat a little bit.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder with charging. Obviously, there's a huge growth in electric vehicle sales, and clearly there are going to be a lot of chargers sold over the next few years. But from our point of view, we think it's important to be responsible, because it does seem like when a market overheats, there could be a bubble developing. But from our perspective,
interestingly, it was the same in Oslo. The hall was full of charge. Yeah, it was very noticeable. I mean, slightly broader. There were a lot more chargers there that were for public charging, i.e., you'd install them and then run a business using them, as opposed to just domestic ones. But there were a hell of a lot of domestic ones you put on your house, and whole systems around that were very common. There was one thing that we haven't had at our fully charged shows, which I think we should try and get it in Amsterdam, is a container-sized unit. It was 6 megawatt hours. It can run off a standard 3-phase. You can charge it on a 3-phase thing, and it produces. There are 2 built-in 150 kilowatt chargers that they were charging Teslas, and you could see, because I know the Tesla well enough to know that it was charging. One of them was charging 142 kilowatts effectively from a battery, and it's got built-in video screens and lights, and you just plonk it down in a car park, and you've got instantly 2 rapid chargers. I mean, it's for temporary installation. It's not for permanent use. A really good system. There were a couple of examples of that.
I think sort of big batteries in shipping containers, whether they're for other purposes or for charging vehicles, will become commonplace, actually. And our friends at Schoon in the Netherlands have what they would describe as the Airbnb of batteries, where you can actually, you can not live in them, but you can. You could do. I've been inside one actually in Amsterdam. I went
probably
inside.
Quite cozy in the winter.
Nice the battery, as us weirdos do. But they actually they would sell the battery or lease the battery to a construction site or to a production company that's producing a film or a concert or something like that. So I think that will become more and more commonplace at different places. It's actually pretty straightforward idea, right?
Yes, it's not that hard to understand. No.
And the great thing about shipping containers is they're so fungible. They're a unit in their own right. They fit on the train, or they fit on the boat, or they fit on the lorry, because they're all that right kind of size. So it's a bit like playing, sort of power bricks. Should trademark that, really. But so I mean, from our perspective, it's like domestic charging is just a very hot topic, but there's lots of other types of charging, as you kind of alluded to. There's obviously the route charging. There's the There's the really interesting street furniture challenge for places that don't have a lot of charging options. But it was quite noticeable. I think most of the shows you go to, as you say, there's a lot of domestic charging companies, and someone like My Energy is very skillfully offers a fantastic charger. I think we've both got Zappies, and you can power your EV using your PV, to use that cliche, but also they're pivoting into other things like batteries.
Yeah,
and providing kind of for homes in general.
And there are going to be lots of regular viewers of Emmerdale, who may not even have noticed that there is actually a Zappy charger mounted on the wall of the village hall. Yes, a functioning Zappy. It works. Yeah, it's great.
Okay. As you'd expect, because they're from the north as well. So we've got loads of good things going on. And I think also what was noticeable from Fully Charged Live South was the amount of home energy tech there as well now.
Yeah.
That has really matured. Multiple heat pump companies there, zero emission boilers, smart water heater companies, etc. And the sessions we hosted on home energy, I don't know if you hosted. I hosted a couple.
I don't think I did. No, but they were busy.
You had the busiest session. Do you know what I'm referring to? You had the busiest session.
Oh no, which one was that?
Grid.
The grid was huge. Yeah.
Which says a lot about.
And quite sobering, because it wasn't like, yay, vehicles grid. It's just the simple answer. It was like, vehicles to grid, horrifyingly complicated. Not impossible, but really difficult. Vehicle to your home, I think, and there was a session in Norway about vehicle to home, much easier to deal with.
Yeah.
To run your house off your car is not technically it's not a big problem, but as soon as you start putting that in the grid, you've got to have so many other parties involved in those agreements, where it gets a bit complicated. But I think it'll happen. Also, I did learn something else while I was there, and now, of course, having already mixed up McMurtry and Munro.
I think Jess put up a photo of the McMurtry and the Munro.
Yes, that might help.
Because they are quite different.
Very different.
If you're having a 2-car garage and you have both of them, that would be quite cool. But
you don't only need a 1-car garage as long as it was high enough, because you could put the McMurtry on the ceiling and just turn it on, and it would just suck itself to the roof. It'd be quite easy. Probably uses quite a lot of energy to do that. No, what I was going to say is Type 2 AC charge, bi-directional charging.
Yeah,
I had a long conversation with people because that's what's in Utrecht in their car sharing.
Yes.
And there's lots of people go, well, you can't do it with AC Type 2, you need CHAdeMO or you need CCS. So there was a whole panel about bi-directional charging, really more focused on the home. And it's very, as you can imagine, in Norway, hugely popular option, because so many people have got an electric car now going, why can't I run my house when it's a cold night in winter, I
hosted a more generic panel about home energy, and I said, put your hands up if you would like to have, or you could see yourself having vehicle to grid in the next 5 years. And every single hand went up.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer for the prosumer.
Yes.
If not industry's got to work out how to deliver that. But we've worked with a lot of V2G and vehicle to home experts. I mean, a couple probably worth name checking is our friend Claire Miller at Octopus.
Yeah.
She's very, very knowledgeable on the subject. I think she's coming to Harrogate. I hope she is. And then we've also got Robin Berg from We Drive Solar in Utrecht.
Right, who's great.
Who's fantastic. I'm pretty sure he's coming to.
Great. Oh, good. Because the other thing is that I haven't finalised the date yet, but I'm recording a podcast with Claire to talk about that. So there will be a podcast episode about that, because she's on the case with that. She's very good.
Yeah, it's a huge growth area, isn't it? I think. I don't think it will be that long. Same with wireless charging. I mean, we can all debate whether battery swap stations will be a thing. I think they might be a thing in certain countries, but not elsewhere. But I think we both feel strongly that wireless charging and vehicle to grid are going to be two of the next big things.
Yeah, but who are we talking to? Yes, Heinrich Fisker.
Oh, yes, you saw
that was fascinating.
So at the weekend, Norway,
at the weekend. So so Jack interviewed him. He was the kind of opening fireside chat of the Nordic EV Summit. Really great guy. I mean, and he's been, he's a survivor. He's gone through all those phases of launching a new car company, and it's agony, and it doesn't work. When he literally left Oslo to go straight to Copenhagen to deliver the very first Fisker Ocean to an actual customer that had paid the money to buy the car. And now they're delivering cars, and they are manufacturing cars and delivering them. So, fingers crossed that really does a good job. But one of the projects he's been involved in, which is in Los Angeles, is his battery swapping. There is a connection between these two. They are building replacement pods or sockets. You take out the battery, and but a huge wide range of cars that are manufactured, you take their batteries out, you put in this sockety thing that means that you can swap batteries, because the same battery will fit in all these different cars. So they're not using the original battery from the car, they're using a generic battery that they produce that you don't own, and this is really for it's for Uber in Los Angeles. It's very much aimed at Uber or fleet drivers. It's a 5-minute swap over. It's automatic. You drive in, car stops, it goes, boom, 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 a new battery on, full 100% fully charged, very slowly charged. Huge racks of the batteries. They're all identical batteries. They don't have to use 10 different types of designs to fit in 10 different types of cars. It isn't all cars that can do it, but they're now running that, which is an interesting sort of sidestep for that idea, for those specific markets. It makes a lot more sense.
For the duty cycle of a ride-hailing or a sharing vehicle makes much more sense, right? The same with you film with Janus trucks in Australia. Some usages will make sense for battery swapping as well.
Yeah.
I think Fisker are bringing their Fisker Ocean to Harrogate as well.
Oh, good.
Seamless segue back to the show, but that's a great looking car, right?
It is a really nice looking car,
and what we've kind of landed on an inadvertent bonus of our live shows is people bring cool cars we've never seen before. We get to film them as well. So by the time this is out, the audience will have seen an episode on the Era SUV, which is
I cannot say it. I just stand in front of the letters and go, it's that one.
HRA, and that's the ex Lamborghini design. Great looking bit.
It just looks absolutely amazing. That's why, in a way, I think 10 years ago when I first talked to people about electric cars and how they could be different, that was what I was dreaming of. That car, it was like you wouldn't make a combustion car like that, because you'd have to put an engine in it somewhere. This one is built around the fact that you don't have to do that. I think it looked amazing, absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Well, the best, the more futuristic, more progressive, more interesting designs are coming out of the newer companies.
Yes.
By and large, not always, but by and large. I know that Imogen filmed with Honda recently, and it's not a bad looking vehicle. It's their kind of compact SUV, but it is a lot more has a lot of similarities with previous vehicles they've released, whereas people like Era and Rivian, who was on the electric launch pad, and other newer companies have been able to start with it from a totally different angle. And Rob, Jack filmed with the Squad Solar car recently as well, which is a sort of mini little solar car that we had at our Amsterdam show about a year ago, if you remember.
Yeah. But it's done really. I mean, it's just over 200,000 people have watched it. It's only been out a couple of days, so you can always tell with that. That's where there is a. It might not be a majority of the market, but there's a big sector of the market that goes, I don't want a big SUV thing. I can put my skis in.
But the difficulty
what about
for all
the
these
people
companies,
who don't go skiing?
The difficulty for all these companies is just the fundraising element.
Yes.
We've talked about it before. Tesla had already gone through production hell. They started mass manufacture. They were already building the Shanghai gigafactory when the pandemic kicked in.
They were quite well established, really. Yeah.
Through that, across the chasm, I think it's known. And but then there are a whole bunch of others. Like, we're big fans of what Rivian are doing, but they got to the manufacturing hell at precisely the point that the pandemic started to kick everyone. So we hope they're successful, but for a lot of these companies, they've been hit by a lot of different issues at the same time, and they've had cash flow issues, all those sorts of things. And I noticed with interest that Lucid's Motors
look a bit
quarterly figures came out yesterday, and they didn't look great. I think they've got something like a $1 billion worth of debt or something like that, which is fine if you're making. It's not fine. Sorry, no. It's not really clear. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine if you're making like hundreds of thousands of vehicles, but I think they're making something like 10,000 a quarter.
Right.
You don't need to be a mathematician to work out that might be
that's a bad debt.
Slightly problematic for them. So
and it is on the scale of that. One of the things I'm really looking forward to is I'm interviewing Jim Farley, who's CEO of Ford, I'm interviewing him quite soon, and that is when you hear of the investment that Ford are making into battery manufacturing, into manufacturing processes. Building a new factory. This is one of the oldest car companies in the world. What do they do? They're building a new factory to make electric cars in. They are spending tens of billions of dollars to get to this point. I mean, that is, and they're having some really successful sales now. I mean, the Ford Explorer, the electric Explorer, which we had on the show recently, the F-150. I'm sure they're not making money for Ford yet, but they're at the forefront of what people understand as electric cars. They've kind of made the leap, if you like.
They look to have a really good strategy. I know Sandy Munro, another friend of the channel, talks about Ford being really well positioned along with Tesla, along with the Chinese brands. There are other brands, obviously, the Koreans, etc. But no, Ford seems to be well positioned. But even for a company the size of Ford, they have debt.
Yeah.
They probably aren't making much profit per vehicle, but they have to do this to survive because in the post-combustion carpocalypse, what will be left? It will be the ones that were kind of forward-thinking.
Yeah.
So it must be deeply uncomfortable. I mean, we don't manufacture things. We make videos and we run events and we record podcasts. Excuse me. Two old men forgetting things, but even for us, you have to fund yourself, and that is difficult. You have these cash flow issues and growth. You need to fund it. So I can't imagine. It's stressful for us. I can't imagine what it's like for a big car company.
Yeah, terrifying. Must be terrifying. Well, particularly the kind of all the startups we've known with amazing people behind them, like Sono Motors and Lightyear, the two kind of heartbreaking ones for me because I'd got to know the people who run those companies and really admired what they were doing. I always had my anxieties and doubts that I kept quiet when I was in their company. And then, but you kind of hope that they'll make it.
Lightyear are coming back.
They're going to do other things. That's the thing.
I think Lightyear 2, the cheaper Lightyear, has got, a real chance. I think they went for quite a high-end car and maybe in that rarefied area where Tesla Model S and Lucid and others were playing, there just weren't enough car sales at that level. So Lightyear 2, I've got high hopes for that. But I was criticised once that we do cover the new things because not all the new things come to fruition. That's part of it. But I maintain that Fully Charged should be breaking these stories and and that these technologies may not survive in the existing company, but they may inspire one of the bigger companies to add solar to their cars, for example. So I think it's important that we cover them. So we're a startup with limited funds, so we have sympathy for others.
Those people, and
we'd like to see them succeed, and they don't always succeed. But
they don't always succeed. Just while I remember, the Fisker Ocean has a solar roof.
Yes.
So it is, it's becoming a thing that you can, particularly in a vehicle like that, which is sort of compact SUV, you've got quite a big roof. Just put solar panels on it. I mean, and I think it's that argument where you could be so easily snide about that and go, well, I'm still going to charge. Well, if it adds 20 kilometers a week of free electricity to your car and you do nothing to do that, you park it outside. If it adds 50 kilometers, what they're talking about is about 100 kilometers a week if you just park it outside in the summer in Europe. Well, that's 100 kilometers for nothing. It's amazing how it could be. I'd rather have that than not have it.
I was speaking to Deborah Meaden, name dropping at the show, and she said when she got solar panels in her grounds, I'm sure it's not a normal garden, I'm sure it's a bit bigger than that. She was saying, she was down there and she was going, this is effectively making money. It doesn't even have to be a great deal. Quite often when the solar roof on a car topic comes up, you might get someone kind of saying, well, how much is this really going to produce? Is it really worth it? Which kind of is looking through the telescope through the wrong end, in my opinion, because would you buy a car with that on? I would.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would, and I think that's actually the angle that once these technologies get out there, that's the key determinant of whether it will be a success or not. Not if someone nerdy on LinkedIn goes, well, how much does this really add? But actually, if someone in the real world is prepared to play a slight premium to have, the Fisker Ocean's a great looking car, but that makes it appealing to me. The Sono Scion, I was always dreaming that car would come to market. Same with Lightyear, and hopefully Lightyear 2 will. So I don't think it's a case of, how much does it add? I think it is adding something else, and from a marketing standpoint, well, I think doesn't the Ionic 5 have some solar capacity on the roof? I think it can do. I don't know if it comes as standard. I think the idea is it comes as a standard thing on the Fisker. But I'm not sure about that. I'm sure we'll be corrected on that. Somewhere. So if you can get some extra solar gain, some easy wins, I think you would. And then so from our perspective, I guess we hope to see lots of audience in Harrogate.
Would be lovely.
Then we might have a brief little pause before we kind of start to think about the shows in the second half of the year with Canada first up, but also we're crowdfunding at the moment, so we're going through that process that other companies go through, is working at actually we want to. The thing is, we want to grow more quickly. We're very, very fortunate with the events to have something of first mover advantage. We think we create the new motor show or the new home and motor show, but we want to do that by doing the London show. We also have some great options to build out a retail business as well, to build out an e-commerce business. So we're currently going through the process of doing a bit of crowdfunding and investment work as well. So I mentioned that because if you're a struggling car company listening, or any company, it could be a bike company or anything like that, we have some sympathy for you. We know how hard it is, to turn these, great ideas into something which has got sort of a long future. Yeah.
I mean, my screensaver on my laptop is just a screenshot of one of the last, I think it was probably the briefing call for the Farnborough show. But it's just because I managed to squeeze it, and it's just to remind me of all the people that work on the Fully Charged show, and it's a lot. There's a lot of little squares, and I know all the faces, and that's who rely on the Fully Charged show. We've done that thing that I've heard politicians talk about, which is start up an enterprise that employs people. I didn't even know we'd done it then. It just happened. But there's now quite a lot of people whose job is the Fully Charged show,
Well, it's really interesting because we crowdfunded in March 2020. So the moment we did it, the pandemic came in, and frankly, if we'd not crowdfunded, then we probably
wouldn't be here now. Yeah.
And so we crowdfunded, and then that money kind of kept us alive, enabled us to kind of work out what we were going to do instead, gave us a bit of time to bring the events back and to keep our talented people employed. We've actually accrued a huge amount of talent, whether it's presenters or producers or editors or
camera operators,
people. We've built up an incredibly talented team now. So you have that responsibility, and that's one responsibility. The other responsibility you have is to the companies who feature on the channel or who might exhibit at a show, who get the most extraordinary response from our audience, because the audience is already educated and ready to invest. You don't have to tell one of the people who comes to Farnborough or Harrogate about EVs and why you should get one. They already drive one or want one, or they want the heat pump. And so that's, been incredible. And I think that the companies that we now have as exhibitors, they kind of rely on the fact that Fully Charged Live is their big showcase every year, or as it's going to be in the UK 3 times next year.
Oh my goodness!
and then beyond that, there's the audience, and I'm always really touched by people who come up to. They even come up to me. I'm sure they come to you more, but they even come to me and say, "Fully Charged has changed my life. I've got this as a result of Fully Charged. I've done that as a result of Fully Charged. Thank you very much for what you've been doing," which is incredible to hear. Yeah. So I think you can't underestimate how much your influence and the channel has moved the needle.
It is extraordinary.
I think it's been a big influence. I know you don't like to talk about it.
No, it's always a bit. But there was a wonderful woman came up to me at Fully Charged in Farnborough and said she just counted them off on her finger. We've got a mixture G water tank. We've got solar panels. We've got a battery. We've got something I can't remember what electric car. Oh, a Hyundai. I can't remember. And there was another thing. Oh, electric bike. I got an electric bike. My husband gave me an electric bike for Christmas. Pause, and it's all your fault. And she just stormed off. That was it. She didn't say anything else. I just stood there kind of, okay, fair enough. No, she wasn't cross, really. It was a little joke, just to clarify that. But that was an amazing thing to hear, which, everyone, all the presenters have said that, and everyone, you yourself, I've heard it a lot. Where at the live events, we do get to meet a lot of our audience and hear those stories, it is an incredible. It's a bit overwhelming, really, to be honest. It's it's all a bit much.
Well, we're probably a bit tired and emotional at the moment, aren't we?
We get a bit tired and emotional by this Sunday afternoon.
Quite a lot of events, and we've got one more to come in the end of this week as you're listening.
End of this week. No, I'm really excited.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
No, it is. It's and a privilege, huge privilege and pleasure to do them. No, they're great. I'm really looking forward to it. Can't wait to get up there. And it's such an amazing venue as well. And it's so lovely to be up north. Notice no accent. Not even.
I don't think you're gonna. I'm gonna keep a close eye on you because I don't think you're going to be able to not do your northern accent at some point in time. But no, it'll be fantastic. And really, really interesting to see it through a different part of the country as well, because we know all the tech is expensive. So we're trying to bring used EVs up there.
Right.
We're trying to talk about energy saving. It isn't just about rich people's toys, and we are very, very minded on making sure these technologies get cheaper. Make sure that cheaper products come to market. But no, for us it is great fun. But there's got to be a holiday coming, right? Please tell me I can take a week off, Robert, at some point. Please, Robert. Please.
Not a whole week, Dad. Just a couple of days with the kids. That's it, and then back on it. No, I think, yes, it feels like it has been quite a busy year so far.
This year has been insane. I think I said it last time we spoke on the podcast. It's gone absolutely crazy, both in a good way and in a bad way. I think the amount of misinformation I'm seeing at the moment is just insane. The latest one was electric vehicles could cause bridges to crumble.
Oh my God!
And you're like,
because I heard the car parks.
Why haven't you said anything about the SUVs and the vans and the lorries that use bridges? Why have you waited till now? I just can't. I can't work it out. So it's just extraordinary. So I think we're going to have a chat with our good friend Quentin Wilson about maybe getting industry together and pushing back against that a little bit. So not only stop burning stuff, but also stop BS. Stop BS, because the media at the moment and some other bad actors are really. I think it's a sign of panic.
Yes, it is.
EV sales continue to rise, even in difficult economic conditions.
And with
sales
this
of solar,
torrent
sales
of
battery.
I've got a lovely list that you'll appreciate, which is from not a left-leaning green website. It's just the top 10 heaviest best-selling vehicles in the UK. A nice list. You'd know all the cars. Not one of them is electric. Not one. Yeah. Because the nearest one is the Tesla Model X, which is number 11. So the top 10 are all petrol cars.
Yeah, and the reality is, you think differently, don't you? I mean, I do. I mean, maybe not everyone's going to be the same as you or I, but I got an electric car and I started to pay attention to things like efficiency.
Yeah. Yes.
I drive a saloon car because it's more aerodynamic now, and I keep the aero wheels on because I want that extra 2-3% that it takes, so
absolutely.
I don't subscribe to the view that everyone gets an EVs and they go for the biggest ones possible. In fact, I think there might be a smaller size for, we talked about Ford earlier, and we had the F-150 at Farnborough, but we also had the Rivian R1T.
Yeah.
And several people remarked to me, oh my God, the Rivian is much smaller.
It is much smaller
than the Ford F-150.
I mean, the Ford F-150 is larger than most of the houses I've ever lived in. It's just huge.
It's quite big.
It looks normal on American roads. It looks gargantuan in the UK.
But I don't believe that, it necessarily one thing leads to another and all these electric cars are going to be bigger. I think the average car size might hopefully have peaked.
Yes.
And this might be the beginning of them getting a bit lighter and a bit smaller over time. So we live in hope.
Yeah. Let's leave it there, Dan. It's been really good to catch up. I am now looking forward to going up north, even more than I was before as a softy southerner.
I can't wait for you to see the McMurtry, McMurtry and the Mertro or whatever. That was unfortunate.
That was very embarrassing.
Definitely shouldn't edit that out, though, because that's
we didn't leave that in.
It's a reflection on how absolutely hapless we are.